6.
This is like every scripted commercial we're trying to say. Alright, so we're on day 3 of the trip. We've already had a really good start to it. What are some of the biggest takeaways you've had so far talking to DMG and everything there?
So early in this trip, we're about actually halfway through the trip, but we were able to go out and see DMG's corporate headquarters that they're about to renovate and handle all of their maintenance and updates to the mining rigs that come in through Vancouver, and then they move those out to the farm, which is about 7 hours away drive, which is what we're doing right now. They were kind enough to allow us to see Black Box, which is a vendor conglomerate that they're working with on building out mining containers. So that was kind of a cool surprise, getting to see a container being built and the processes they went into with that, from vendors, from just decisions they've made and the various iterations that they've made as part of this. As most of this industry that's getting into Bitcoin mining, especially in North America, is really greenfielding their operations, meaning everybody's kind of, I don't want to say making it up as they go, but they have plans and ideas and they're doing iterations of those. So we got to see kind of where they're at in the stack, where they're making their own power delivery side, and then some of the vendors that they still rely on from outsourcing standpoint. So it's really good information to see the recipe and ingredients of that process. But what really distinctly lays people out is like how they actually cook, right? So we're getting to see some insight to that and then provide you guys with some of that exposure.
Okay. Sam, or Samantha, any big takeaways for you? Sorry.
Yes, ditto everything Carter just said. I think DMG is doing a really, really great job, and it is super exciting to kind of get to see the behind the scenes and how they're doing everything. Aside from that, I'm still afraid of heights, and Carter's a horrible driver. Takeaway.
It's been a quite an interesting driving experience for sure, to say the least. But we are following Sheldon, and I think Sheldon in another life was probably
a race car
driver through, and it wasn't just any race car driver. It was definitely a mountain pass kind of, maybe WRX kind of, rally racing type of driver, I think, because we've been cutting through British Columbia through these wonderful scenic views at a pretty good clip. And we're in a 4-door large SUV that has 4-wheel drive, which is pretty nice. But yeah, it's he's booking. He's making it happen. But yes, my driving sometimes is suspect. I would say, but yeah.
Okay. What are some of the highlights so far the last few days that you can,
Yeah, so highlights the last few days. I would say for sure the drive up from Seattle was pretty decent. Going through, crossing the border, I think was kind of a cool experience.
What's cool?
Just something that I haven't done in a while. It went through kind of border security. Driving, I've never driven in through Canada through the border, so that was actually a pretty interesting time, and just seeing that, and then getting up into Vancouver at night is just breathtaking almost. That town is like what I would see as a modern, city in the not in the U.S., but in, Canada, of just they need some highways to take you into the city, but like it's quite the drive to get into the city. But just seeing that was very breathtaking. Eating dinner at that 360 view, the Sky Harbor,
top of Vancouver,
place in downtown, was really cool. Definitely so far. And then another cool highlight was seeing the process that we were just talking about on the containers, and just some of the ideas that they were having when it came to like maintenance, and if you're moving them, just the things you wouldn't understand until you've built a couple containers and you've gotten feedback. So it's been through a few iterations of the feedback loop on customizations they've made now for servicing and then moving the container. Was interesting to hear. Probably a solid follow-up on that too was that probably getting the vehicle towed because I parked in an area that I wasn't supposed to. Was another one.
All right. In terms of green energy, would you say that DMG is one of the crypto space's forerunners in trying to utilize that as best as possible?
I mean, I think we're about to find out where they're at in that stack, to be honest with you. I mean, until we get out to the farm, we understand their power delivery. This is one thing that we're going to talk to. Everybody's very sensitive right now in the space because there is a lot of negative press when it comes to what type of power are you getting. And since Bitcoin mining especially is very task intensive on energy, like the amount of energy you need per device is pretty high. So there is, seeing where they're at, everybody's concerned about it, right? However, part of the issue is it's on both sides where people don't also understand that you have stranded energy where things that are renewable are turned off, and now you have all that carbon, like you built this thing but now you can't use it because there's not enough usage of it. And we see that in northern Illinois, where we're from, where we see a lot of windmills off all the time, where they kind of overbuilt, and now you have all this. It's not waste, but it's like if it's not being used, you don't have anywhere to put it. So I know Canada has a lot of hydro up here, and we'll see what their energy mix is based on what's provided to them. But I don't know if they're leading the charge on it, but I know that they have a very sensitivity to green efforts in crypto.
Okay. Sam, any highlights or things you found very impressive coming up to DMG and actually talking with them?
Yes, highlights in general for me, the container build outs. I thought it was super interesting. So we got to see 2 different designs, and they kind of talked to us about meeting with prospective clients and kind of really tailoring the container to their needs, which I thought was really great, especially like in this industry where, all over the world, everyone is doing some kind of mining, and not everyone's setup or situation is the same. And so I thought that was really innovative for them to start thinking and saying, okay, like what can we do to service certain people in different parts of the world? So that's definitely was a highlight for me. Also, my first time being out of the country, super exciting. Canada's beautiful. So this whole drive, I mean, we've been going for 3 hours almost at this point, and it's just been the most beautiful countryside.
Okay, so, alright, I remember the question about the news at least. So, recently, within the last 24 hours, there has been a bill proposed in India's parliament that would essentially do the exact same thing that the China ban is doing for Chinese miners, so on and so forth. Would that have any impact, do you think, for North American miners or even miners in Europe and anywhere else?
No, I think it all comes back down to we've seen, if this question was asked before China had banned, I think nobody really knew the total effect of what would be equivalent to news FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt is what FUD is. Until after the China ban, where we saw like 50% of the Bitcoin hash rate come off, and we saw a dip that was corresponding to that, but we also saw a huge recovery really quick as more countries were able to participate in the space. I think what happens is when somebody like India comes out and starts to ban it, all it's doing is hurting its citizens. They're falling behind on being able to participate, and that's all. It all comes down to a decentralized network, or anybody that's doing anything with crypto in general has an opportunity to participate or not. So if you don't allow your citizens to participate in that global economy that comes with the crypto space, then they're just a few steps behind. But I would encourage anybody that has any influence at all in the Indian government to just do some due diligence, understand all the different issues, really understand what you're thinking you're banning, and all of the other ancillaries. It's not as linear as some of the approaches that are coming when you read some of the effects of why they're banning it or what they think. A lot of it's not true data, it's not reflective of what's going on in the space, and it's very opinionated. So like things should be done on data, and if they did the due diligence, they would see that data is showing the prosperity that's brought with Bitcoin. So that's all you can ask for. And it doesn't. I don't think it really affects anything. Even if America came in, which I can't imagine America doing, and started to try to ban like certain states and stuff like that, all you're doing is impacting the citizens, and people will move. People that are interested in this space will find a new opportunity to stay in it. So, yeah, if you want to push away the future, or you want to push away the future of the country, then ban something that's revolutionary in finance and in fintech, which Bitcoin is.
Okay. Final question. For any new miners or people that have never really had an interest in dealing with these kinds of companies like DMG, what exactly is this trip trying to help convey to them as to why they should pay attention at least a little?
I think a trip like this really starts to expose the enterprise side of the scale of things. Like, we as hobby miners, and even having like the BBT farm that's a little more than a hobby farm, it's almost a full megawatt, and we have the capacity to go to 2.5 megawatt. It gives a perspective in something that's orders of magnitude larger. So it gives people an insight that they may not get to see and get the questions asked on their behalf, to show people like what the scale of that looks like and why it's so important. I firmly believe the future of this is going to be crypto in general is going to be considered critical infrastructure for countries, and I think it's important for people to see that perspective now as much as we can provide for them. And that's where I think it is. So I mean, if somebody's just catching this video and they're trying to figure out like what the heck are we talking about, getting exposure into a big farm like this, $100+ million farm, I think provides some, would-be maybe investors in the space, an insight to perspective of where maybe their money and some other future opportunity can be deployed to. And I think it's important to kind of do that due diligence for folks. I'm not saying we're like somebody like Vice or somebody, but we're just showing a perspective of, somebody that's willing to open their doors. Hopefully this incites more opportunity for us and maybe other YouTubers and stuff to go out there and show people a perspective of, the lessons learned and those things that people find as they're greenfielding a new direction in a space, like building containers and deploying rigs and understanding how power works and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that this video somebody will click on, and it's given them a good insight.
Okay. Any final thoughts or hopes to learn about anything new from actually getting to this farm?
Final thoughts. The drive, like, if I ever have to make this again, I hope it's in the summer. I like the winter side, but I can't imagine this place in the summer when it's nice and clear. I've learned a lot about Canadian laws. We're gonna actually pass somebody right now live. And I'm not violating Canadian law right now, maybe. But
just look at the lines on the road.
Yeah, look at the lines on the road. I think it's interesting. Most of these farms, and I'm realizing this now with a lot of the larger farms, they're not easy to get to, and it's because of a range of reasons. But some of it was OPSEC originally, but also it's where the energy is at, right? So farms are placed, next to energy, production. That's the most efficient. If you have to bring the power to the farm, you have all this other cost that makes it almost cost prohibitive to compete. So a lot of these farms are usually by some kind of large energy production of some sort, and the efficiency of that we'll get into, but that's kind of having to drive across British Columbia is not the worst thing in the world. I've had a really good time. I think the rest of the team's had a good time.
And I would just like to add, I've heard a lot of talk about not liking country music, and that just seems not to be the case.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone loves country music. Sorry, Ray, that you're missing this. And we've listened to plenty of great country music.
There it is.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Hashtag. Carter likes
For anybody that watches this,
Country
the reason Smith is bringing that up is because BBT Vanessa hates country.
But BBT Vanessa sings along to country songs.
Yes,
She
she
doesn't
does.
really hate it that much.
Hashtag facts. How about these views, though? That's quite the view. This is no, nothing like a closing note like this of these scenic views. Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys like that, and we can. This is just a travel vlog. Hopefully you guys like this, this style of video. We're trying to pass the time. We still have almost 3 hours left on this drive. We've been driving for about 4 hours. So it's going to be about a 7-hour drive today across British Columbia. These are our views. So stay tuned, and we'll catch you guys on the next one when we show you guys the farm.
Decentralization is one of the most important factors in a global cryptocurrency network. Bitcoin's proof of work functions due to the exceptional security provided by the miners of the network. Today's sponsor is Compass Mining, a company with a customer-focused experience providing a tailored approach to purchasing, hosting, or even an at-home option, allowing anyone the opportunity to participate. If this interests you, head over to compassmining.io.